What we're trying to do when we say keep the body straight is not actually keep the physical body straight, but rather we want to keep the conduit open vertically through the whole body. Most of the instructions in Tai Chi are really about how force transfers through the body and what condition those body parts need to be in to permit that force to travel through. Hi, I'm Grant Clement from Darsana Martial Arts. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you'd like to support us or join our online academy, there are links in the description. All right, let's get to the lesson. A common instruction Tai Chi students receive is to keep the body straight or to stand upright. Like many Tai Chi instructions, this one is commonly misunderstood. Most people, when they hear the idea of standing upright or standing straight, will raise the front of the body. That tends to close the spine, meaning the vertebrae come closer together and compress. So although we feel more straight because we feel more tall, we're actually closing the spine. Some practitioners will even specifically think of the spine as the primary support system for the torso. And this is understandable because when we come to a practice like Tai Chi, usually we're thinking about the body and body structures. And so when we think of, well, what supports us, what are we keeping straight, we tend to think about the spine. And so what many people will do is they will sit the weight through the spine, oftentimes into the heels, because when you sit your weight into your spine, that's typically where you will feel the weight. And some instructors may even instruct students to put the weight in the heels, which in my opinion is incorrect instruction. We don't want the weight to rest in the heels, and we don't want the weight to rest in the spine. This is going to compress the spine and actually cause the muscles in the back and in the back of the hips to become stiff and locked up. They're not going to open up the way that we want them to. While the spine is part of the structural support of the body, it isn't being used like a set of stacked blocks that we rest upon. It's more like a bow in a manner of speaking, in the sense that if you were to string a bow, the line of the string would travel from the top of the bow to the bottom, and then there would be this curve. So it's a little bit like a softly curved bow, and then the line of force is actually going to travel in front of the spine, not through it. We want it to travel from the Bai Hui point at the top of the head, and then going straight down to Hui Yin. Now, Hui Yin is in front of the tailbone and the anus. So it's between the anus and genitals. It is not at the tip of the spine. That's actually the point where that line of force, we can call it the gravity ground line, we can call it the vertical axis. It's the line along which the central supportive force runs through the body. So we do want the head to go up. We do want the tailbone to stretch down. But ultimately, we want that central line to pass from the top of the head in front of the spine, and then it travels through the back of the knees to the Yang Chuan point. The Yang Chuan point is quite forward in the foot. So you have the toe pads, you have the so-called balls of the feet, and then just behind that, roughly in the center of the foot, just in the beginning of the soft arch portion of the bottom of your foot, is the cavity area where the Yang Chuan acupuncture point is located, the gushing spring or the bubbling well. That's where we want the weight to rest down. So in actual fact, as we sit down into the quad, into the internal hip space, we position the thigh bones in relationship to the pelvis so that as we release tension and we let the pelvis stretch down so the spine is stretching long, because we're allowing the pelvis to hang along that line from Bai Hui to Hui Yin. So that line stretches, and that stretches open the spine. If I'm resting back, I'm going to be resting into the spine. I'm actually sinking my weight in front of the spine, and it stretches down the spine towards the tailbone. So the spine opens, but the weight is passing in front of it. That's perfectly fine and even advisable for the upper body to have a slight forward cant, a slight forward tilt to it when you're practicing your Tai Chi. So when I'm doing, for example, my raised arms, which is one of the common places you see people raise back, I don't want to do this. I don't want to lean the body back and lean into the spine and lean into the hips. So as the arms come up, my body may even be slightly forward as I sink towards the Yang Chuan points. And then as the arms come back down, the body may sit a little bit deeper and I'm still slightly forward. In whatever form you're practicing, this is going to allow the force to pass through the soft tissues to stretch the waist. It's going to open up the qua. The back will stretch and open and fill, and it will feel more rounded and broadened, both vertically and horizontally all across the whole back. In this way, you're not standing straight like this where the weight is resting into the spine. Right? This is not good posture for Tai Chi. You're not going to be able not only to sink force down to the ground properly, but you won't be able to bring force back up and out to the hands, because this condition of the body, of the back being full, the spine being open so that there's more space between the vertebrae, there isn't compression there, and that freedom to transfer force through it will permit the force to move up to the hands and down to the ground through the back. And this is a very important point in Tai Chi. If you are thinking about keeping the body upright like so, and your movements, especially when the arms are up, that you find the mid and low back grabbing on and you're sort of leaning back or leaning away from the hands to move, or perhaps when you go to take a step, you're leaning back. It creates that closing in the spine. So we don't want to lean back to step. We want to sink and open the spine. We're not trying to lean back, or we're not resting into the spine, nor are we cantilevering ourselves over the stance. All we're looking to do is open the back vertically and horizontally, sink down through the core of the body from Bai Hui to Hui Yin. Most of the instructions in Tai Chi are not about how we place the parts of the body or how we use the parts of the body in terms of movement and posture. Most of the instructions in Tai Chi are really about how force transfers through the body and what condition those body parts need to be in to permit that force to travel through. What we're trying to do when we say keep the body straight is not actually keep the physical body straight, but rather the pull of gravity on the body mass, the support of the ground to the body structures. We want to keep that line passing straight through. In other words, it means we want to keep the conduit open vertically through the whole body. And to do that, you do not lean into the spine or rest into the spine to keep the body straight.